Hi, Sean. I have a question. Your portrayal of sex workers often present them as individuals with agency, authenticity, and a refreshing, honestly, qualities that challenge societal stereotypes. It even suggests that their connection to their bodies reflects something deeply profound about their humanity, perhaps even more so than many others we encounter in society. The people in your film that were in sex works, like for example in red bottles, are even more honest or more humans than many of people that we are seeing. They are doing very good things, like in this Anora character. So I feel that it is your understanding or your connection with this topic is much more than just reading a book about escorts, because you suggested that this portrait of Anora was based on a kind of book
Mm.
that you read about an escort. It has some kind of philosophical understanding, some existential function that you give to the sex worker. So I'm just curious if you can say a little bit about this, because it's very interesting and very challenging and very different.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, no, you're right. It wasn't just the memoir that got us going. It was actually more to do with the location. And then I applied sex work to that world. And that was one of the, that was one of the helpful influences on the film. But you're correct. It has more to do with, I think, with me getting to, I've made 5 films now about sex work. And so I think the first one was called Starlet. And on that film, I got to know sex workers and become friends with sex workers and hear their stories, and understand that, and their connection, which was, and speaks to what you just said. I think you were actually way more eloquent in the articulation of it, but what I noticed is actually, obviously, they are more connected and more aware, more connected to their bodies than most people are. I think it comes with the livelihood, it comes with the occupation, um, and their connection to intimacy and their connection to, you know, uh, human interaction, especially for somebody who is who works at one of these clubs, a dancer who works at one of these clubs, one of these lap dancer clubs, in which, the as Mikey said on stage, they have to be very intuitive. They almost have to be psychologists to a certain degree, because they have to be aware of their own body, but they also have to be aware of their client and what the client might be thinking, and trying to read that client, trying to gauge that person's emotions and where they're at that night, in order to figure out how they can do business with this person. So yeah, I think this has just come from, honestly, from just years of studying this and having known and knowing sex workers, and also, and just, understanding that they're leading lives just like all of us. They're just perhaps have a livelihood that is very different, and because of that, society has stigmatized it. So it's a very interesting livelihood, and that's what I think I've just tried to apply what I know and what I've learned, to Annie.